Thank you so much, Mr. President. It was an honor for us to host 228 participants from 46 countries of IPU member countries in Turkey. Distinguished colleagues, we as the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, together with the IPU, have successfully organized the parliamentary conference titled Parliaments and Global Compact on Migration and Refugees, How to Bring Stronger International Cooperation and National Implementation. The meeting was held in Istanbul on 20th and 21st of June 2022. This conference was of utmost importance as the first global parliamentary conference focusing on refugees and forced migration. The conference, like I mentioned, had 288 participants, including parliamentarians from 46 different countries and also representatives of international organizations and other institutions from all over the globe. While addressing international migration in general, conference focused on refugees and responses to forced migration. 6 formal sessions were held, and international migration governance standards, global compacts and global policy agendas, sustainable solutions and root causes of forced migration, irregular migration, including management of borders and combating transnational crime, the experience of Turkey as a country hosting the highest number of refugees in the world, and the human dignity and social inclusion and cohesion of refugees and migrants were the 6 different panels where we discussed these issues. Concerns were emphasized throughout the conference on the huge challenges faced by many countries receiving refugees, asylum seekers, forcibly displaced persons, and war evacuees, and with the least resources hosted from neighboring countries. Parliamentarians from many countries pointed out that the hosting countries had the least resources and greatest number of refugees and had nonetheless provided far more generously refugee protection and assistance than developed countries. Fair and equitable responsibility sharing and enhanced international cooperation clearly emerged as the fundamental message. Many participants emphasized a rightful expectation that developed countries, particularly European countries, assume the equitable share of responsibility in providing protection to refugees and assisting countries with large refugees and displaced populations. A major concern raised by the parliamentarians during the discussions, as well as experts and academics, was the rise in many countries of xenophobia, intolerance, and exclusion, and violence directed against refugees and migrants. Participants urged that the attention to rolling back racism and xenophobia be an immediate priority for parliamentarians and governments. We need attention on this worldwide. It's important that in our parliaments we don't allow hate speech, we don't allow xenophobia, we don't allow racism and discriminatory language. The urgency for parliamentary engagement and action was reiterated throughout the conference, notably the imperative of governance under the rule of law and the key role, responsibility, and function of legislative branch of government in that regard. Participants emphasized the need for parliamentary engagement and action in the ratification on domestication, harmonization of international conventions and guidelines, the elaboration and enactment of national legislative frameworks on governance and regulation of all aspects of migration, including areas like human and labor rights, protection of migrants and refugees, and as directly elected representative of the people for their countries in guiding the executive branch and monitoring and holding the administration and other stakeholders accountable. Special mention was made of parliamentarians' role in urging international dialogue and cooperation and the direct engagement in international dialogue of parliamentarians amongst themselves. The importance of generating international guidance for parliamentarians was underlined. Of course, it's important to note what is the real source of migration. Why do people have to leave their homes? They're not doing it by choice. So we need to find a solution to the core problem, like we have the situation in Ukraine currently, and situation in many other countries where people are forced to migrate, leave their homes for their lives, or seeking better lives. The inclusion of refugees and migrants in their cities and countries of residence and their contribution to development and economic and social welfare and social cohesion deriving from good governance were highlighted by delegates as their concerns. It was noted that following issues should be addressed: access to health services, education, and general government services. Specific attention to children of migrants and refugees need to be paid. Gender-responsive approaches towards all migrants and refugees, especially women and girls, must be held. Labor market employment integration and decent work must be provided. Skills assessment, recognition of qualifications and training is a necessity. Inclusion, anti-discrimination, equality of treatment as imperative of social cohesion. Specific efforts to combat xenophobia and violence against migrants and refugees was highlighted. One of the conference's sessions was focused on extensive experience in Turkey and political, economic, social, humanitarian measures taken by the Turkish government and other stakeholders to receive, provide support for, and in many cases facilitate the integration of refugees in employment and with the social society, with the local societies in general, their participation in social life, daily life in their societies where they live. We all believe that parliamentary action for refugee protection and assistance and governing migration are important in every country. This is a global necessity. I would like to underline, as I'm concluding, that there was an urgency for further international parliamentary dialogue and cooperation addressing causes of forced migration, regulating international migration, and further implementing of the recommendations of the global compacts, like the Global Compact of Migration and Refugees, and on realizing the Sustainable Development Agenda. It was an honor for us to host the members of IPU together with the IPU in Turkey, and I'm grateful to our host, Rwanda Parliament, for hosting us. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ravza, also a special thank to you, to your country, to your parliament, to your speaker, for the commitment to organize this meeting. It was a success about one issue that affects all the continents, and we needed all concrete actions to prevent it, migrations. Thank you.